Today I'm going to be answering one of your art questions about how to store your graphite and colored pencil artwork to keep it from getting smudged or damaged. Hi, I'm Lisa, the artist behind Lachri Fine Art. Now, I know I've answered and talked about this recently, actually, in my studio tour. I'll have a card pop up here. If you've not seen that, you can check that out. But I wanted to go ahead and answer this specific question in a standalone video so that it would be easier for people to find that information. Noah writes, I have really gotten serious about my colored pencil and graphite drawings. However, I was wondering, how do you store your art when it's on paper? Do you mat it before you frame it? How do you store it before you finish it? Do you just set it aside or do you file it, etc.? Thank you so much for all you do. Well, for artwork, until it's finished, it pretty much stays on my easel. I only work on one project at a time, just because of the way my schedule works. That's how it has to work. So it stays on my easel until it's finished. For the finished drawings, I have a few different ways that I will store them to keep them safe. One is to, of course, frame them. I do mat them in that case. Now, when you're matting your artwork, one tip I do want to give you, don't just use regular Scotch tape or masking tape. That is not acid-free, and if you stick that to your artwork to tape it to the back of your mat, that will yellow the artwork over time. So that's kind of a big issue and something you want to be aware of. There are plenty of acid-free archival materials out there for you for matting your artwork, so just wanted to throw that out there. But yes, if I'm going to frame things, I will mat it first and then pop it in the frame. I actually have some on my walls now that are stored that way. But that's probably not going to be the most convenient method or cost-efficient way to store your finished artwork unless you're going to be showing them. For me, I don't frame the work unless it's something that I personally want displayed on my wall right now, or if it's going to be for show at a gallery or something like that at an event. Then I'll go ahead and frame it and I'll leave it in the frame. I don't come home and take them out of the frame. I'll go ahead and just leave them as is. But that's not going to be the most cost-efficient way for me to store all of my finished paintings and drawings, and I don't really have the space for that. Besides that, most of the work when I sell it, I don't include the frame. I don't like to ship artwork with glass because there's just too much of a risk of that glass breaking. I would rather sell the work. I do sell it matted, but I would rather the buyer be able to go pick out which type of frame they want anyway, and then not even risk having glass damage the work. Just personal preference there. Plenty of artists sell their work framed and have no issue. Totally went off on a tangent that had nothing to do with your actual question. The next way that I store my graphite and colored pencil work is in a portfolio. This is a 14 by 17 inch. So anything that is that size or smaller, I will put in here that is not done with powder blender, and I'll go into that in a minute. But here, it keeps the work pretty safe. The paper that is included with this is archival or acid-free, so it's not going to cause yellowing of the artwork. Now, with this type of portfolio, I have lots of room to store lots of work. I can hold a whole lot of my smaller pieces in this one, which is nice. Don't make the mistake of thinking that you can just go buy a regular binder and use regular plastic inserts that you would use for like your school classes and that sort of thing. Those aren't necessarily going to be archival, and you can have them yellow the paper over time depending on what they're made out of. Some are going to be fine, some are not. So I definitely would recommend get one that's intended for art that is listed as being archival and acid-free so that your artwork is not going to be damaged. Before I do put any of my artwork into these sleeves, I do spray the graphite work with a final fixative to help prevent smudging, because you are sliding it in and out of the plastic. So that I do recommend. For colored pencil, if I've used polychromos and luminance and blended with odorless mineral spirits, then I don't spray those. I don't put a finish on those. Those don't need it. There are 3 reasons that I don't choose to use the portfolio. 1, sometimes things are just too big and they're not going to fit, so I needed an alternative for that. 2, if I have worked with powder blender, that is not flexible. So I don't want to put it in a portfolio where the pages turn and sort of curl in on themselves. I don't want to damage the artwork, so I need to be able to keep them flat. The 3rd thing that would make me not use a portfolio for something would be if I've used carbon pencil or charcoal, because that, even when they spray, they have a tendency to smudge, and I don't want to be sticking it in a folder where they're sliding in and out like that. So the solution that I found are these clamshell boxes. This one is an Eternity Archival Art Storage Box. They come in lots of different sizes. They are archival, so your work is not going to yellow when touching it. If you put them into like a regular cardboard box, that could run into issues because those probably aren't going to be acid free. So you don't want the artwork to yellow. You want to make sure that you are placing it in something that is not going to cause problems that way. And with these ones, the clamshell box, it just opens up and I can fit lots and lots of drawings in here. They just stack on top of each other. And what I do is in between each drawing, I put a piece of glassine. Glassine is the stuff that you see when I paint or draw. I keep this under my hand. It keeps the oils for my skin not touching it, and it keeps me from smudging the work. Now, the reason that I'm using it here is it keeps me from having something, let's say there was some charcoal on the back of this. It keeps it from smudging on the artwork underneath. So I do want that sheet of glassine in between each of the drawings in here to protect them all. And glassine is one of the best choices you can go with. It is archival, it's intended for art. This is something that you can use to wrap finished paintings or drawings in. You know it's not going to cause it to yellow, but the bigger thing is nothing is going to stick to it. You could use an acid-free piece of paper. I mean, anything's better than nothing to protect them, but the thing is with the acid, like a regular piece of paper, if it slides around, some of the previous graphite or carbon pencil or colored pencil, if any of that sticks to it and then that ends up sliding around, you could end up with smudge marks or little lines from that. With a glassine, nothing will stick to it, so that's not going to be a problem. But these have been a lifesaver for me because I had a bunch of big pieces, 16 by 20 inch colored pencil pieces. I had them in different portfolio type settings, but honestly, I never felt like it was the best protection for them. It definitely worried me. And these boxes, they're pretty hard. They don't bend at all. It's very, very sturdy. So my artwork is much safer in here than it has been pretty much any other way that I've stored some of these bigger pieces that weren't framed. I hope that gives you some ideas on ways that you can store your artwork, and I would love to hear in the comments below if you've got suggestions on ways that you like to store your artwork to keep it safe. Please share with everybody. And I will have links to all of the products that I'm using here in the video description. Hey, have you subscribed yet? If not, there's a button right there that you can hit. It'll what? That wasn't English at all. Let's try that again. There's a button right there that you can hit to keep up to date with all 5 of my new art videos every single week. If you want to get notifications on your phone when I have a video go live, you can also click that little bell icon and you'll get those notifications too.